geopathic power. They were on ley lines like the Temple of Luxor was. These people could sense these things. They knew where the power was. They had known where the power was since they were elemental with the earth all the time, herdsmen or whatever, and they continued to enhance and build their priestly buildings, their religious buildings on these power levels over and over again, just as they did with the Temple of Luxor, which is almost kind of like a little island right there on the Nile. Not an island, but kind of like a little peninsula. So they would go in, and I mentioned to you about a stomach ailment or a head ailment or anything like that, and they would have these incantations where they would work on this specific area in this highly energized field, lining up with magnetic lines, lining up with water and all the rest, like I mentioned, and this would give them the maximum power to try to affect a change on the humans or whatever else they were praying about to actually occur. Evidently, it was very effective in their opinion because, needless to say, these complexes required massive amounts of labor. And when you're talking about a civilization like that, they're not going to waste their time on something that doesn't work. It's not going to be hearsay or possibly or something like that. They could definitely see a change and affect a change. And so the temple complexes built, the things that have been discovered so far in Egypt are tiny compared to what the huge complex that there was along the Nile River, thousands of years ago. And the temples the pyramids are just great big voltage accelerators where people were actually doing incantations in these kings and queens chambers and places like that. And we're also going multidimensionally in using the alchemical term of whatever is above is below. So if you take the Temple of Giza, you'll find a passage that seems to go nowhere underneath it, underneath the Pyramid of Giza, that goes down and seems to go nowhere and ends about with the same distance below the ground as above the ground. But in actually what these things were multidimensional portals where these people would actually disappear or go off into other places because of the incredible voltaic power produced by, for instance, the pyramid. The same kind of thing was happening with the Temple of Luxor and all these things. And these people, got it from other places. They learned from other civilizations, built on their own, and these things reached an apex that occurred for many, many millennia during the Egyptian situation. There is some power out, for instance, the Parthenon and places like that. But it wasn't until really the 1200s, 10s, 11s, 1200s, when they started building the Gothic cathedrals, the Templars came in and started really making it a very powerful situation there. This has been passed on through various groups of people, the Rosicrucians, to a certain extent the Masons at the 33rd degree level, things of that level, on to this present day. But never have they been able to really go past that level of power that they acquired. Have not been able to, up until this time, go past that level of power that they were able to achieve with these monuments back in the Egyptian civilization. Now, however, we have a situation that's just a bit different. We have such a massive increase in the power of technology that it's actually possible to highly supersede those particular levels of power. And because of that, certain amounts of manifestation, certain amounts of clearing for, let's say, we'll call them psychic maladies, things of that nature, are now able to occur at a much higher level because of the almost asymptotic, that's a mathematical term, the exponential rise of technology, which produces a higher level of power that can be used to do this. The power comes from various ways. And what we have tried to do with our technology is to emulate, to a certain extent, the type of technology that was used in places like the Luxor Temple, the Gothic cathedrals, and whatever, using various aspects of sacred geometry and things of that nature. Let me give you an example. There is a formation that occurs throughout enzymes and hormones, especially in the human body. and it is there's a type of formation in organic chemistry called a benzene ring. And a benzene ring is essentially 6 carbon atoms, 3 of which are double bonded with another carbon atom, and 3 of which are singly bonded to another carbon atom. Now, that's just a pictorial representation. Actually, all the carbon atoms share the extra electrons that are going along in these bonds. That's connected with a pentagonal array of carbon bonds also. So what you have in most hormones, certainly all the ones out of the pituitary, the hypothalamus, and the pineal, are all hexagonal connected with pentagonal carbon arrays. From those things are produced every significant hormone that we have in our body. So what we have done is one of the things, as an example, is we have energized the hexagonal, pentagonal carbon array. And from those, from the difference between LSD and, say, serotonin is actually quite small. It's just a matter of a few atoms changing, and all of a sudden you've got dimethyltryptamine is another one. DHEA is another one. All these things are based on this hexagonal, pentagonal relationship. So essentially what we're doing is we're reproducing the physiology. This is just one small example. We're reproducing the physiology of man and working on the physiology of man just like they did in the Temple of Man millennia ago. Except now we're able to do this at a higher level of power and a much more sophisticated way, not just through actual mechanical means, but even through things such as suggestion. So when we do, say, for instance, a homeopathic remedy, where we're actually able to rearrange the atomic structure or the molecular structure of water by making a suggestion which imprints itself in water on the liquid crystalline level, we're actually able to do that as well with human beings. Because the human being is made up of, as I mentioned last time, an array of water chemistry. 70% of the human body is water. And all the things that go on in there are essentially exchanges of water crystals. By sending these signals out, we reproduced in a very powerful way the same thing that they were able to do in, say, for instance, the Temple of Luxor millennia ago, with the same kind of result. Very, very high-level, exotic changes in the way human beings look and react to things because of this incredibly high power that they're receiving. And what this is really doing more than anything else is it's producing a paradigm change of huge proportions. Because now for the first time, we're able to take these brilliant things that they were able to come up with, reproduce them electronically and multidimensionally, and send them to people with that reproduction wherever they might be in the world. So that's essentially a kind of a micro presentation of the kind of stuff that we're doing and the kind of stuff that was done then and how it's being reproduced now. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or whatever we might do.
Bill?
Oh, hi, Roy.
Well, it's
got that Texas twang.
Huh?
Yeah. I was going to ask you about the Mormon temples. Do you know anything about them?
I'm doing the same thing.
Okay.
But I'm not.
By the way, Roy, I'll be happy to answer that. There was a lady that I heard Roy's voice and I shut you right out. Please don't feel badly about that. I'll be happy to answer your question in just a minute, okay? Whomever you are. What I would say is I haven't done a lot of stuff on the Mormon temples. I think, just like a lot of other human beings, I think the Mormons mean well in what they're doing because we all try to do the very best we can. So I don't really know that much about the Mormon temples or the way they're set up. But if I were guessing, I would say that probably they've done enough research to have emulated some of these things. And
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. But the thing is you have to remember is the technology is comparable to the technology of, at a minimum 700 years ago whenever you're talking about a physical structure, Roy.
Right.
So it has very, very limited